Welcome to another video. Thanks for joining me. This will be recorded in the car, so bear with me. It's usually not normal for me to do that because of course I'm in different places as a commuter, if you know that. And if you're new here, probably you do not know that I'm a pilot that commutes, and that definitely affects my ability to record in the same place every time. But anyway, let me get to the point. This video, as you can see in the title, is about the retirement age that they are planning to increase for pilots from 65 to 67. This is not something new. This is something that has happened in the past, and they have tried to revive this whole plans to increase that retirement age. I may sound biased, but I'll try to be as unbiased as possible. In considering, guys that are probably about to retire and they still want to fly and they're in good shape, of course, that's a great thing for them because they can stay longer. But I just want to touch on what is really going on and what is causing this to happen. There are two things. The first thing is, of course, there's a bit of shortage going on. But the second thing is also money. If you think about it, due to the shortage we are experiencing in the aviation industry, the airlines are having to increase cost of hiring pilots and also pay pilots. Now, all that cost means that less profit is having to be made. That's just the honest truth about it. And if you remember, there was a time when the flight hour requirement was only about 250 hours. But of course, the FAA pushed it to 1,500 after the Kogan crash. And all of those factors contributed to this whole pilot shortage going on. Now, technically, is there really pilot shortage? Not really. What is really going on is lack of qualified pilots. I mean, when I say qualified pilots, I'm talking about pilots that have met the requirement to meet 1,500 requirement flight hours for 121 operation. And also, if you look at the regional operations, right, in regional airlines right now, there's a lot of attrition going on, which means the regional airlines are unable to staff, especially on the captain seats. They're usually short of captains, and they do not have enough experienced captains that can become LCAs to train new hires. So it kind of trickles down like that. Due to some of these shortages or shortage of pilots, it has actually crippled some of the airline operations. Some airlines had to park airplanes. Some airlines had to increase pay drastically. Some airlines had to cut frequency of flights to remote destinations. Or when I say remote destinations, I'm talking about airports that are not served as often, right, because of just the location. But with this shortage going on, they've had to cut off some of those locations or some of those airports off their routes. There is a big factor if you look at it from the public interest, all right, because if you think about, if you live in a place where the airport is not served as often, then if you're a passenger trying to get out of that airport, you're probably going to be restricted to maybe 2 flight options, whereas in the previous times maybe they had 4 options that you can choose from. So definitely that affects the public. But let us look at it from pilot side of view. All right, I'm a pilot. I've been in industry for some time, for I would say more than 8 years now. Looking at it from my perspective, okay, as someone that is not about to retire, the issue with that is, of course, if they increase the age from 65 to 67, there are a few things that will happen. Of course, retirement will slow down because a lot of guys that are supposed to retire, would end up being pushed out for another 2 years, which is pretty much just kicking the can down the line, right? It's not really solving the problem, but at least it buys time. 2 years is a lot of time if you can save, money. If you think about it, one from the airline side of view. The other thing to consider is a lot of us as pilots, we do not want them to push the retirement to 67, especially if you are junior. You want that movement, right? You want to move up in seniority. So if they push it down the line, that means you're stuck in the same place. You're unable to move up. The next thing that a lot of pilots and flight attendants are considering is health, and that's one of the things that was mentioned by the people that are against this rule of it being passed. Right now it's gone through the House of committee, but eventually it's going to go to the Senate, and then if it eventually passes the Senate, then maybe it can become a rule, right? But at this point it's not at that level yet, so no need to panic. But it's just some things to consider, because what could also happen is the fact that airlines don't want to pay more for pilots means that if they can pass this rule, the ability for them for us as pilots to actually get more money is kind of reduced. If you look at it from that perspective, the reason why a lot of regionals have increased pay is all because of shortage, right? So if there's no more shortage, then of course they can start clawing back some of that money and not give it out, and of course give it to their shareholders. From the airline perspective, I think I already touched on it. It's all about saving money and staffing, right? But in reality, the big factor is saving money. One of the reasons why a lot of people are also pushing back is medical. Now, to be honest with you, there's so many 65-year-olds that are really fit and in good shape, and they can still continue to, 67 and so on. And even think about it. Part 135 and Part 91 doesn't really have a retirement age unless it's a company policy by some of these operators. So some guys still fly to the age of 70, and they fly safely. At the end of the day, as long as you can get your medical first class, you can be a PIC, and if you're not, then maybe you can do second class medical. So there's room for this to work safely. The only downside that I see is, the world still operates with the ICAO regulations, which the retirement age for them is 65 for multi-crew operation. So that means if you're 65 and older, you won't be able to operate into those countries that the regulation is still 65. The other thing I want to remind you is this. By the way, if you're liking this, please don't forget to drop a like on this video. Don't forget to subscribe and all that stuff. Leave comments in the comment section below. I'll try to reply when I can. But one thing I wanted to remind you of this is also, there was, in 2007, they increased the pilot retirement age from 60 to 65. Again, all because of lack of staff as well. Similar problems, all right? So we'll see how this plays out. We'll see how this actually becomes a law or goes into the regs officially. We'll see how long it takes, but of course it's something to watch out for, and because it will affect everyone, both the guys that are about to start and the guys that are of course about to retire. I hope that you found some value in this. It's just something I thought about, and I said I needed to share it with you guys, and I hope you've enjoyed it. Please don't forget to leave your likes, your subscribes, and and your comments and all that good stuff. I'll see you in the next